Hello and welcome to Columbus Local Podcast. I'm Len D'Amico and this is episode 61. It's my great pleasure to have this evening James Biggy Young. James, how are you?
Brother, I'm straight.
Oh, the crowd goes wild, man.
Yeah, thank you, man. Thank you.
Lead singer, vocalist, frontman, James Biggy Young, from Columbus, Ohio, USA. You're a big supporter of the music scene in Columbus, Ohio, as well as, a strong participant. And I think that your longevity has probably a couple stories. What do you think?
Yeah. There's a...
It's good. I mean, it's good stuff.
It is, man. And you know what? I guess I'm blessed to still remember it because most of my friends don't.
They don't remember? They don't remember you?
I guess, I don't know.
Or they don't remember that it happened that way?
Have all the total details like I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're always like, oh, man, you got to watch Biggs when he's telling a story because, hey, it's a story. It should be epic, right?
Yeah.
It's just like...
You're a good storyteller, man.
Yeah. That's what... Yeah, I guess that's what I do. Someone one time goes, oh, dude, you missed your calling. You should have been a comedian instead of a lead singer. And I'm like, hey, man, that ain't cool. And then I thought, damn, I am kind of funny, man.
So now it is cool.
Yeah. So
are we going to see on the comedic circuit now, too? You could do it. You just tell your stories.
That's pretty much what those guys are doing. It's just, a comedian is just someone who's telling stories, man, and making it, hilarious.
Biggie, have you ever done like a radio show or podcast episode like this in the past?
Nope.
Nothing like that. Have you written down any of your adventures in music?
Yeah, I have like a little, catalog, Yeah, you gotta, I don't know. I'm just all about telling good stories, I guess, man.
Witnessed by yourself. I mean, it's your life, right?
Yeah. And I guess when you're a lead singer, that's pretty much what you're doing with a song, man, is you're telling a story. So. And
do you write music?
I have.
You have in the past.
Yeah, I have some stuff I've done with friends. Yeah. Lars,
Lars Raymond from Columbus, Ohio, drummer.
Yeah, a longtime friend. When you got these connections, man, you have to hold these people in and say, look, dude, I'm paying. Let's go to the studio. I got these songs. And Lars has helped me a couple times, man. Yeah, it's some stuff, it's metal. Yeah.
Metal.
That's what we did,
It is what
man.
It is,
Metal.
Wow.
We loved everything, but metal, I don't know, just when I sang it, the way it made me feel was like, I don't know.
You were in the right
kind of powerful,
kind
man.
Of music for
yeah, for sure.
Feeling it, literally.
Right on.
Good. That's awesome. I love emotional performance. It's really the way to try to go. If you're not feeling it, I think you're missing out, regardless of your personality.
Exactly.
Just saying. James Biggy Young. Where did Biggy come from?
Okay, Biggy came from... I was playing in this club in LA, and my friends were standing outside, and they were waiting in line to get in, and I have a really loud voice, and I was belting some song out, and there was a friend of ours who was from England. He was like Welsh, so he might not have understood our hillbilly slang all the time and everything. And so he was like, my God, who is that singing? And they were like, I don't know. And he goes, that guy must be 6 foot tall.
Yeah,
they go, he must be like 6'8" or something. And then they walked in, and then there I was, and they were just like, what? And so then they go, dude, you're the little big man. And I'm like, what? I said, man, I don't need no nicknames. And so they were like, no, you're the little big man. So they called me that for a while. So then one night we were going out. This was when we lived in Hollywood. And Lars had this full-length leather jacket. And I put it on, and I walked in. I had my hair all sprayed up, man, looking all badass. And they go, look, it's Mr. Big.
Really?
So then they all start calling me that. So then this other guy, he didn't speak a lot of English either. And he was a drummer I played with, and he was from Chile. And he thought they were saying Biggy. Biggy. So one time he goes, hey, Biggie, what's going on? And Lars goes, what? And he goes, Biggie, isn't that his name? And Lars goes, it is now. And
so Lars pushed the agenda.
Him and this dude named Trick, they were just like, dude, you're the big man. And then when this guy said Biggie, they all just lost their mind. They said, oh, dude, that's your name. And to this day, that's my name.
Biggie.
That's like what most people, they don't even know.
Didn't know you by that.
Yeah. Only if you went to elementary school and junior high and high school, you would know me as James. But yeah, it's Biggie all the way.
Yeah, I've only known you as Biggie.
Except for my wife, she refuses to call me Biggie. Like some friends are like, "Hey, how's Biggie doing?" She's like, "You mean James?" Yeah. And they're like, "Biggie," and she's like, "You mean James?" And they're like, "Wow, dude." I said, "She doesn't like that name," and that's fine. My kids don't call me Biggie either.
What do they call you?
Dad.
Okay, well, that's good. That's traditional.
Right on.
All right, James. James, let's get into this, man. Okay. So, like, where and how did music, become a part of, the force that you embrace?
Well, I mean, growing up, man, my parents, man, they listened to like Roy Orbison, and there was this movie that was on Flippo, and it was called The Fastest Guitar Alive. And Roy Orbison was in it. He was really young, and he had this guitar that turned into a Winchester.
No way.
And he sang these killer songs in that, man. And we would see that stuff, and then they loved Elvis. I mean, come on, man. There was only 3 channels back then, and my parents couldn't afford cable, man. So they just had the straight channels. And Flippo, man, they had Elvis. So you dug Elvis. And then at Christmas, it was Christmas shows like Dean Martin, Andy Williams. I mean, you looked forward to that stuff back then, Yeah, you got Ed Sullivan. I don't know. I didn't really listen to Ed Sullivan. It was probably more the Midnight Special when I was growing up, man.
That was a great show. Like, that came on about 1:30 in the morning, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was late.
Yeah,
but I was still up.
We had to sneak up because my parents are like, "They're in bed at 10," and
yeah, yeah,
they were pretty strict, man. So and my dad, his favorite singer of all time was Nat King Cole. He always said, man, that guy has the smoothest voice of all time. So that's what we were listening to. And then my sister was 3 years older, and then she was into like the American Bandstand. So when I started seeing that, I still wasn't into it just yet. And then she started listening to like Bay City Rollers. I mean, she was a teen, man.
Pop, yeah.
Yeah.
Bubblegum.
Bread. And then one day I went and I snuck in her room, and she had this double album. And when I opened it up, it was Kiss.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like,
Kiss Alive.
What is this?
Yeah, Kiss Alive is very iconic.
I listened to it, but I had to look out the door at the same time, because if she would have caught me, she would have killed me. So I listened to this, and it changed me forever. Good old Kiss, man. Yeah, it changed me forever. When I saw that, it was, I don't know, it was like fantasy or something, man. It was.
Yeah, you're like, what in the world is this?
Yeah, I mean, when we were younger, my dad, he loved to sing blues and jazz and stuff, and my mom, she sang at church, and so they just sang around the house. My mom had canaries because she liked to hear them sing all the time. Yeah, I mean. So it wasn't that everyone played any instruments, but they were very,
engaged. Listening.
Yeah, they loved. We always watched The Sound of Music. and these things. But and my grandma, she turned us on to stuff like Andy Williams and Perry Como and stuff. Once I saw those guys, they got some killer voices. You don't have to sing rock and metal to be a great singer. I mean, my rule is I'm a singer, man, and I love all singers. And if you can send a chill up my spine, brother, I'm all about that. Yeah. You just can't say, well, he doesn't sing metal. Mm-hmm. That guy's no good. Well, put me out of a job, man. I don't need it,
Right.
Yeah, I'm trying to get one anyhow. So, but yeah, and then in junior high, I was an athlete, so I started getting into a little bit of music. I'd go to some parties, and they were like, this is called AC/DC. And I was like, what is this?
That was crazy, too.
With Bond. I'm like, what is this? So then we had this lit basketball court back at my parents' house. And my friend came over, and he had this 8-track that ran on batteries. Well, you could only usually play one tape before it used up all the batteries. So he brought over Highway to Hell, and he put that in. We were playing basketball, and man, when I heard that, I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was killer.
Yeah.
So that definitely got me going, too. And then I sang in the choir and did some musicals and stuff in school, man. Yeah.
No, yeah. Where in the Columbus area are we talking?
Oh, well, I lived in Lancaster.
Yep.
In Lancaster, man. So it's kind of a country, it's country, man. Yeah. Country radio station. And
sure.
Yeah. It's a good place to live, man. Yeah. It's a good place to still raise a kid, man, to tell you the truth in this crazy world,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And we all did okay, man. We were a bunch of hillbilly rockers, man. And so we did just fine, man,
Yep.
Yeah. Well, we all would turn out to be pretty decent people, man.
Yes, absolutely.
So then when I was in high school, I started going to more parties, and then I was learning about Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd and all this stuff, and I was really digging it. And then someone said, hey, someone's having a party this weekend out on Hamburg Road, man. They're having a band. You want to go? And I'm like, yeah, let's go, man. So me and my friends all jumped in the car. We went over there, and when we went in, it was in this basement, and Lars was playing drums, and
Lars Freeman
was playing drums, and Jeff Prince was playing bass, and Lisa Matten was playing rhythm guitar, and Steve Theodo, aka Piggy, was playing guitar. So they were doing a bunch of songs, and I was like, what is this? Yeah. Yeah, I think that pretty much
like live music thing, like hitting you. Is that what you mean?
And then something inside me said, "Man, I'd like to be doing that."
Yeah,
So yeah, I would definitely say that party was an
epiphany. Of sorts.
And then Lars was singing. Lars was singing back in the day.
Yeah.
A little John Waite, man. People talking.
Nice.
They say, and yeah. And so we, to this day, we still harass him and say, oh, come on, dude, you got to break this singing out. And he's like, those days are over, dude.
We're going to get a hold of Sam, of Toast. And,
yeah.
Plant the seeds.
Yeah, right. So once I saw that, man, I was hooked. And then they used to have a thing called Miller Swim and Dance, and it was a local swimming pool. And on Friday or Saturday nights, they'd have rock bands down there. Yeah, and it was local guys. So we'd go down there, and it was this guy named Len Slimmer. He had a band called Early Warning, and we all kind of learned off of that guy, man. There was only one little music store in Lancaster called Kaufman Music. So if you want to be in music, you hang around music. Yeah, so we all hung around together, and we met people. I knew guys that were in punk bands and stuff like that, and then rock bands. And so, it's kind of a community, man. It's kind of like us against
The world.
the world.
You were the rockers. You were the the cool cats.
Yeah, well, man, it wasn't always easy growing up in a kind of reserved place, looking the way we did. Me and Lars, we were looking at rock magazines from Europe and stuff. And we're like, man, them dudes look cool, man. We need to be looking cool too, But it got a little rough around there, when you'd go to the mall or something and you'd hear these, people hiding their kids' faces, man. Don't look.
And you saw that happen. You were feeling this as a
And then me and Laura rode mountain bikes all the time, and so one time we were riding, and some dude must have been drinking or something, and he almost hit Lars, and Lars had to he crashed up in his front yard. He didn't get really hurt, and the guy rolls down the window and he goes, "People on bicycles, they got out of the same rules as people in cars," and we're like, "What?" So we got up. So Lars is pissed off. We get up. We follow the guy on our bikes. He pulls into some bar and gets out and stumbles inside. We was like, wow.
Jeez, dude.
Yeah. So, and then I don't know. But then you kind of get a little bit of celebrity going when you're in a band. In a small town. I mean, the word gets around. If you got it going on, people are like, "Hey, I saw these guys at the Charlie Horse, man.
Check them out."
Yeah. So
you're feeling it all. Yeah, you're in it. You're involved.
Yeah.
And you're having a blast, I'm sure.
Yeah. And so then I'm trying to think, well, how am I going to get these guys to let me sing? Yeah. Because they probably had 3 or 4 or 5, 10 years experience on me. So Lars gave me a chance, though, man. He was like, "All right, dude, don't mess this up." And that's not the word he used.
No, Lars, you can curse. I don't.
Oh, okay. Well, he's like, "Hey, dude, don't fuck this up. Everyone's watching." I was like, "Okay." So I would give it all I got. So then I was like, "Oh yeah," and they were like, "Hey, dude, you sounded really good doing that." And then Lars was in a band called American Steel, and so they were looking for a singer. Well, I was still pretty green, but they gave me an audition because I was their friend.
Yeah.
But I was crushed when I didn't get the gig, you know what I mean? And Lars was like, "Dude, we already knew who we were getting, but you are our friend, and we thought it would boost your morale if we gave you an audition." So they did, and then I didn't get it. And I was like...
And they did more damage than they intended. To some degree.
Yeah, my feelings were hurt.
You understand where they're coming from, though, right? And you're past that, right?
Oh,
But it's an interesting beginning there where you had a, situation.
Yeah. You live
an opportunity.
Yeah.
But
you know
it didn't
what?
go the way you wanted it to go.
Exactly.
That
and
happens.
then I believe that spurs you on. If you're that kind of person, you know, when people say, "Oh, dude, you can't do that." Well, you can't. I don't. I'm like, "Oh, here's my phone number. You call me every day."
You're the guy.
You tell
the
me
guy
I can't
that's gonna you're gonna
Yeah.
do what you desire. You're just gonna go for it.
So, Lars and these guys, I'd say that night changed it for me forever, man. But I was always singing, man. We were kids. We were out singing Christmas carols, and we'd be going to people's houses, and they would slide you like $5 or something, man. I'd be back there singing White Christmas, and my friends would be going. There's like 5 or 6 of us. They were going, "Ooh," and I'd be like, "Dreamy." Yeah. They give you some hot chocolate. Those were the good old days, man.
I don't know if we're even doing that ananymore. I really don't.
I don't think it's legal anymore.
Well, not where I live now, but back in the day. I mean, I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, I mean,
caroling?
When I was in what was it? I was like in 6th grade. There was a Christmas play, and I was like this bishop
Yeah.
And I had to start singing Silent Night in this play. I'm like in 6th grade. So my mom and my grandma and all my uncles are out there and everything. And so I'm all into this, man. So I'm singing Silent Night and everything. And I see my mom, like, has tears in her eyes. Or my grandma was like, man, I must be doing a great job, man. And so afterwards, I told my mom, I said, wow, I can't believe you were crying. And she goes, yeah. She goes, we were crying because we knew you'd never be that holy ever again. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, yeah.
And were their fears realized? Biggy?
No, the reality
Did you
was
make
coming
that left
to
turn at that point?
Yeah,
You did.
Yeah, I was probably the black sheep. I mean, my uncle was a minister. That doesn't make you any different than me
not
if
a
you're a
bad
minister.
person. You're just...
No, I was adventurous. So maybe deep down inside they might have lived through me with that, saying, man,
Could be.
yeah.
Could be. So these guys gave you a shot, but it wasn't your first band, though. What was your first band?
This is
in Columbus. This is in Lancaster.
Lancaster. The first band I was in was from Logan, Ohio, and they were called Heathen.
Oh,
and
nice.
this guy named Bill Whitlock played guitar, and he was pretty awesome, man. But I was maybe 16, and they were like, you gotta come. Well, I knew this bass player guy named Cherokee. He was like this Indian dude, and he'd been around, and so I'd played at jam somewhere, and he heard me, and he's like, hey, this guy's looking for a singer, man, you should come check it out. So I went down and and auditioned with them, and they were like, okay, we're good. They said, we got a gig in Bookdale. You might have to get the map out for that. It's in between Athens. Is it in yeah, it's on the board. No, it's in between like Logan and what is it? Yeah, it's Logan and Athens. It's a really small town. So anyhow, I'm all nervous, man. I'm kind of a high-strung person anyhow, but I was all nervous. So I go do this gig with them, and it's this biker bar. And, I mean, I'm talking 19...
Don't mess with these boys, right? Don't mess with these fellas.
80s
Keep to
real
yourself.
biker bar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, these guys are playing, and I get up, and of course you're doing... heading out the highway all night. That's all they want to. No,
Steppenwolf?
Yeah, Steppenwolf. Oh, that's what they want to hear. That and a bunch of stuff. And I just remember it was. I was really broken in on what rock and roll was like. Yeah, I was just a kid, man. I was actually pretty scared. Yeah. I mean, I really was. I mean,
But you survived that gig, right? They weren't, taking.
Oh no, I still played in the band after that for about like another month. But then the places got a little scarier, man, and I was like,
you were bailing out on what was happening with that. I mean, that's fair,
Yeah. So but it breaks you in, man. Mm-hmm. You learn from these things, So then, I was hanging out with Lars because he was in a band called American Steel, and they were playing at this bar called Charlie Horse. Okay, so all these bands from Columbus started coming down, like Rosie and the Gods. Well, we knew who they were, but we never got to see them. So they come down and they're playing at the Charlie Horse all the time. And that pretty much did it for me. When I got to see a band up close, that something inside of me said, okay, man, I think this
is for you.
This makes me feel better than anything else that I do. So I think I need to be doing this, man. And so those guys were killer, man. Rosie, Mark and those guys. And the Gods were great. The Gods were great, and Rosie was great. And there was a band called Black Leather Touch. And
sure.
They were great. But these bands were for Columbus. So we ventured to Columbus, but not a lot.
Yeah.
And then when they started coming down here, we started.
You
Yeah, Fusion back in the day, they were playing down there. They were just kids, man. Yeah.
Wow.
Ken and those guys, I've known those guys for years, man. But they were down there playing. So then I started playing with other people and stuff like that, and then playing down there. And they had like a Rock Wars thing, and some friends of ours won it. They were a band called like Bugsy Malone. It was a friend of mine named Pat Kaufman. And he actually helped me get started too, because his mom would play bingo on Tuesday nights. So we could jam in his basement. And I'd go over there, man, and they were doing like old Iron Maiden, which is still some of my favorite stuff, like Rothschild. And they would let me get up and sing and stuff like that, man. And yeah. Yeah, his mom, it was great. Every Tuesday night, man, his mom was religious. She went to bingo, and we jammed for like 2 hours in his basement. So then him and Lars, they had a gig they wanted to do, and it was a prom at Fisher Catholic High School. So they're like, Biggs, can you help us out, sing a couple songs? They had this little, really young girl, and she was singing, but she had a killer voice. She was doing like Stevie Nicks and stuff like that. But then they wanted to do some rock songs, so they wanted me to sing. So I said, okay. So we go to this prom, and the kids were like digging it, and we're all digging it. So we're like drinking in between sets, and we're having a few beers, and this nun comes back, and she saw somebody taking a big swig off a beer, and she's like, she said, "You boys will never play here ever again." And,
wow. Harsh.
Yeah. And so our one friend, he flips a bottle cap at her, and it hits her like right in the boob. And we're all like, it's over. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyhow, we go back to playing. These kids all dug it. So afterwards, these kids come up to us. They said, "Man, you guys were great, man." They said, "We're going to a party. Do you want to go with us?" And we said, "Where at?" And they go, "Well, this one guy's mom's going to fix us breakfast. Do you want to come with us?" And we were just like, "Sure, man." So we went with these kids, these rocker guys. We went with these kids. We got this real nice house. They had a basketball court. And they were like, "Hey, you guys don't play basketball." Me and Lars play basketball all the time. Everyone used to think if you're in a band, you don't play sports, you don't know nothing. And that's crazy. We all grew up as athletes, man. So we get there. It's me, Pat Kaufman, Lars, this guy named John Kreese, and I forget who else it was, against these kids. And we whipped the crap out of them. I mean, we had all kinds of moves, man. And they were devastated. And they had a great time. And we went in, and this kid's mom had this huge breakfast, and we all ate, and it was great. Yeah. That was a good experience. A good memory in my life, man.
That's awesome, dude.
Of playing, shows. And then when you were a kid growing up, we sang Christmas carols in the choir, so we went to rest homes. And the looks on those people's faces singing, I think that touched me so much that I thought, look how much happiness you brought to this person just singing some Christmas songs. But these, yeah. And so that kind of got me going too. And then I remember we went to this place, and it was called the county home, where the people go that don't have no money, man. Yeah. And so we went there last, and I think our choir director had an agenda, because the most places we went to was all decorated, and it was happy, and it looked festive. And we went there. There wasn't no tree. There wasn't no lights. It was kind of dark. And we went in there, and they got these people in this room. We sang, and I remember some of the girls in the choir, man, crying, because it was rough. It was rough, man, but I still sang the sing. I think I might have sang a little better for those folks, man, so.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, just, and then, what was I, like 10? My aunt told my sister, "I'm going to go see this band at the Ohio State Fair. Do you want to go?" And she told her, "It's the Osmonds." And so I'm like, "Oh, I want to go." And they're like, "Oh, all these girls are all mad at me." Okay, so we went. I think that kind of did it for me too. I know that sounds funny. My metal friends, they're not going to dig that, because The Osmonds. Yeah, I hate to tell you guys, but when I saw the Osmonds, they had it together, man.
It was another influence for you.
And then I never seen so many girls screaming, and I
man.
thought, you know what? This is what I need to be doing, man.
And that got you there in that mindset.
It did. Yeah.
So musically, then, where'd you progress from where we left off?
Oh, you mean from like playing in Lancaster?
Yeah.
Okay, so then Lars is like, dude, he just comes to me one day. He's my best friend. We delivered pizzas together. We hung out together all the time. We just jammed on Maiden.
And you guys are still friends today.
To this day, we're still. I have a special bond with Lars. I would say over. I got great friends in this world, for sure, man. But Lars and I have a bond that can't be broken because of stuff that we've been through. Together. Yeah. And so he was like, I'm working at Kroger's, man, in the seafood shop. I'm playing some gigs on the weekend. Well, this is a good story. So I'm playing this gig on this weekend, and I worked in the seafood shop at Kroger's. Well, guess what, dude? That doesn't really come off your clothes even after you change. If you've worked like 6 or 7 hours, you smell like the shit house door on a tuna boat, man.
Fish and dock.
So... anyhow, I go to this gig, man, and I changed my clothes, man, but after about 3 songs, I'm sweating, and it's coming through my skin, and the bass player came over, and he went to say something to me, and he went, damn, dude, didn't you go home first? I said, I didn't have time, dude. I came straight from work. I changed in the alley. Yeah, and but whatever. So, so Lars comes in there and he goes, "Dude, I'm moving," and I said, "What?" I go, "Where you going?" And he said, "I'm moving to L.A., man." And I said, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, dude, I'm moving to Hollywood, man." He goes, "I'm going to go to school out there." He's like, "Man, you got to come with me, man." I'm like, man, dude, I don't know. I got this cushy job, Trans Am, girlfriend, So I.
Things are good.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was in my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready to get out of it. Lars had been playing music for a while, so he's ready to take the next step. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I might not have been as aggressive as him at first. So anyhow, he moves out there, and the day he leaves, man, we're all crying and shit. Yeah, we're friends, man.
Right.
I'm thinking, damn, I've been hanging out with this guy like every
He's
day.
going to California. I'm never going to see this guy.
Yeah. He's moving across the country.
Like you had cell phones back then, right?
Oh, hell no. And so, yeah. So then he calls me after he'd been there about like 4 or 5 months, and he's like, "Big, man, you gotta come out here, man. You got any vacation time?" And I was like, "Yeah, I do." And he's like, "Man, you gotta come out here, man. We'll have a good time." I said, "All right, dude." And so I put in a vacation, and I got it, and I got a ticket, and I went out, and Lars and this guy lived in his apartment building picked me up in a van and at the airport, and I went to Lars's apartment, and for 3 days, man, we talked.
That's cool.
I don't even think we left. Even though it was Hollywood, was 100 feet away, Hollywood Boulevard, we missed each other so much that
wow,
we needed to hang. And we were just talking about, whatever, man. We were best friends, man. So we were just talking. But then we started to go out and adventure. So then Laura takes me out on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm like, wow, man, this is incredible. And he's like, you got to go in this place. It's called the Rock Shop. We go in there. They had all these cool clothes and all these pictures of like Motley Crue, right when,
fashion.
Yeah, before they made it, Vince still had white hair spiked out. Yeah. And they had pictures of Randy Rhoads and stuff like that. So I'm like, wow. So I'm buying up all this stuff, man. I'm thinking, this is cool. And then Laura's like, we're going to go see some bands and go to the Rainbow. I said, okay. So we went to the Troubadour. We had to take a bus. Lars didn't have no wheels. I didn't,
whatever, right?
Yeah. So here we are, all pretty 80s glammed
Decked.
up. Laura's had me buy
Teased.
this black and white striped like dinner jacket. I had that on with some tight ass jeans, man. I don't know, some spiked heels or something. Got your hair going on, you know. So me and Laura's, we're on the bus, man. We go down to the Troubadour, and I said, dude, how we gonna get home? He's like, dude, we're gonna pick up so many chicks at the Rainbow that somebody will give us a ride.
Really?
And he's like, we're gonna know everybody.
That's the plan.
And I'm like, all right, man. So we the band we went and saw was Paul Gilbert. And he was in this band called Black Sheep. And they were playing at the Troubadour. And we went down there and saw them. And the bass player was this black dude. And he had real long hair. He looked like Flip Wilson when he was doing Geraldine.
Sure.
But they were bad as hell. Paul Gilbert was playing a Flying V. He had one green neon scarf on, one orange neon scarf, one orange Converse high top, and one green one. And I thought, this guy's a freaking nerd.
What's got it going on, though, right?
I'm like, this guy's a freaking nerd. So then they start playing, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's incredible, man. He was shredding. And he's got huge fingers. He's got really long. And then when you're playing a Flying V, I mean, come on, man, you're getting every note down there and he just shredded. And that's the day I learned, don't judge a book by its cover, because he was short-haired, looked like a nerd, and that dude melted me.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we go up to the Rainbow. We hung out all night. We didn't get no chicks. And everybody was gone. So Laura's like, the bus is shut down. We're going to have to walk.
You knew it.
I'm like,
He
what?
may have known that.
I'm like, how far is it? And he goes, it's like 26 blocks back to my apartment. And I'm like, dude, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And he's like, we got to get walking, dude. So take how we looked.
Man.
We're walking down Sunset Boulevard all the way back to Hollywood. And there was people yelling. And then a couple cops went by, and the guy rolled down the window, and he was like, you better get home there, fancy pants.
Really?
And Lars was like, don't look at him, don't look at him. And I'm like, oh, my God. So I'm a hillbilly kid, man. I didn't have any high-heeled boots. So I borrowed Lars. They were a little tight on me. Yeah. And so I walked 26 blocks with his boots on.
Shoes.
And by the time we got back to his apartment, my heels were bleeding.
Dude.
And yeah. And we were both so exhausted. We just blacked out. Man. That was
Yeah, that's quite a hike. With such high testosterone driven hopes.
Yeah. So
at the end, just ending with that exercise.
So then it was a couple more days, and then I came back, and the whole time Lars was like, man, dude, go back and get your affairs together, man. Come out here with me, man. This is where it is. If you want to make it, you're not going to make it in Columbus. The Columbus scene is not, you're not going to make it.
It's not Hollywood.
Yeah. And he's like, we have a better chance here, man. So I came back, I thought about it and everything, and then I got this part of my life over here on this shoulder going, and then over here I got these dreams pulling going. So anyhow, I was like, oh. So Christmas Eve, I'm working at Kroger's, and Lars walks in, and I ain't seen him for a while, man, but he's got like real long blonde hair. He's got on like this full-length leather jacket, and his girlfriend's hot, and she's wearing like a mink. And I'm like, wow.
Rock star.
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Kroger, in Lancaster, Ohio.
Yeah. And so he comes in and he goes, well, dude, what's it going to be? And I said, oh, dude, I don't think I'm going to make it. I don't think I can go, man. And granted, here I am. I had long hair, but they made me wear a hairnet. And then I had to have a captain's hat on top of it. And so here I am being like this. And then Lars being a rock star. And he's like, dude, whatever, man. I said, okay, dude. And then I'd bought some tickets and we went and saw, it was my Christmas present to Laura. We went and saw Queensryche and they opened for Kiss at the Ohio Center. And
Nice.
it was
Nice.
killer. We all hung out and everything. So
Absolutely.
about a couple days later, this old guy comes in shopping and he's like, they shouldn't let you work here looking like that. And he was just, obviously he wasn't, he just didn't have a good life because he wasn't a very happy person, man. So he thought he'd take it out on me. And he just kind of like ripped into me about some stuff. And I was just a kid and I thought, man, that was uncool. And then I thought, fuck this job, man. And I called Lars.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
And
That's
I
how
said,
that.
I said, fuck this job, man. And I called Lars and I said, brother, make room in that van because I'm coming with you. And he's like, that's what I'm talking about.
All right.
So then we got Clyde. Clyde was laid back, man. We say, Clyde, let's go to L.A. He's like, all right. So Clyde was cool. And then he drove, So our friend said, let us have a benefit for you guys before you leave. So we rented,
So this is the three of you guys going to California.
yeah. And then we all
And Lars had a
jammed
girlfriend
with,
at the time, right?
Yes,
She was hanging
yes.
with you guys. So it was just the four of you.
no, Lars' girlfriend never came.
Oh,
It was
I
just
see.
the three. It was just the three
you
of
guys.
us.
Okay.
So we, of course, I'm the only one that has a job. These musician guys back in the day, dude, I'm not working. I'm like, dude, you're not getting no money playing music. And so I always had a job, man. My parents weren't good. They're like, what? You're not just playing music. You need to get a job. And then I think that balances you out. Anyhow, man, you work hard at your job. But then when you went to play in a band, it meant so much more because you really said, yeah, this is what I need to do. But I'm doing this other thing because I need to eat and pay some bills.
Right.
But then when you go, and you just kind of gave it more, If I laid around the house all day and watch cartoons and did nothing, I'd be like, oh man, that's not motivated, So anyhow, we had this party, and so everybody pitched in and gave like $10 when they came in the door to help us out.
Cool.
And so we had this party, and this friend of ours, he videotaped it, and him and our friend, man, they were freaking wasted, man. And they're supposed to be videotaping us, and all night they'd be on the band for like half a verse, and then they're on some girl's butt. And then when we saw, we was like, what happened, man? Yeah. And they were like, oh, dude, I heard that song before. So.
You still have the tape?
A friend of ours does,
That's
and he
cool.
lives in Pittsburgh. But man, we've lost contact with him, man. But yeah, he
Track that thing down, man.
dude, if I could get my hands on that, it'd be killer. I had some big old metal spiked bracelet.
For sure.
Yeah, back in the day, man, we all wore some studs, when the first time I saw AC/DC, I mean, we were into like David Lee Roth. It was kind of glamorous and stuff. But the first time I saw AC/DC and Bon Scott came out there, he didn't have a shirt on, man. He had his pants unbuttoned. And he had a tattoo that looked like one of his friends drew it on. And he just looked like a real man. I know that sounds weird, but to me, I was like, that guy's a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so... Yeah, but I love Dave too, man. I mean, I loved all that stuff. Bret Michaels, I'll tell you later, man. But we
cool.
met those guys and stuff. So
the three of you guys get in this van
yes,
with some seed money from the community
Yeah.
in Lancaster, Ohio.
yeah,
And you head west.
yep,
One shot, you're out there. You had a place to go.
yeah.
Lars was already there.
Yes, see,
That's a cool
That
thing.
was the cool thing. I mean, going out there and trying to find a place, man.
it's
And
hard.
then I knew what it was like. All it was someone bought a motel and they turned them into apartments. So it was like a 3-room apartment. You had a bathroom, you had a living room, which we all slept in. I slept in a beanbag chair for like years
Yeah.
because that's all I had. And you didn't care. I mean, whatever. So we drove out there, and we got to St. Louis, and we was all kind of bummed out, you know, because everyone's crying when you're leaving, man. My mom was, my mom was so pissed. She said, you'll never make it. She said, you'll never make it. She goes, you're going to fail when you get out there. But you know what? What I understood was that was her way of telling me that she loved me. But my dad was pretty hardcore, man. He never really said much to you, you know. I mean, he was pretty strict, so you pretty much kept in line, man. He was Cherokee Indian, man. You'd be getting your ass handed to you if you disrespected. So, yeah, it was like, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. I mean, whatever.
I got you.
Yeah, so, you know, you had to have
But you did make it past St. Louis, and you did get to your destination,
I'm sorry.
right? No, we're good.
I was telling you.
No,
So my dad comes out on the porch when we're leaving, and he says, you guys are really doing this, huh? I said, yeah. He said, well, let me tell you something, man. He said, if you're going to do it, he said, you better do it now. He said, because when you get older, he said, you ain't going to have that drive. He said...
It's wisdom.
And then then this was the coolest thing that he ever said to me ever. And then he said, and let's prove your mom wrong. And
that's a good dad, man.
Yeah.
That's a good dad.
That meant a lot coming from somebody that really never he didn't dig rock and roll, man. Yeah, I mean, you know, we're doing Maiden songs. I'm doing some screaming, man. He was just like, I don't know how you do that, and I don't know. He goes, it sounds like some kind of demon. And I'm like, yeah, I know, because he was all Nat King Cole and that kind of stuff, you know. But then he found out I could sing that too. One time I had a singing recital, and he would never come and see me sing, and my mom told him, like, you got to support this kid, man. You got to, you know. He's like, I don't like that rock and roll, man, and so, but she talked him into it, and then I thought he would come, and so I had this lady teach me Misty by Nat King Cole. So I was singing it when he walked in the room, and he got pretty teary-eyed, man, and I'll never forget that, man. And then when I got done, he pulled me off to the side, and he said, bravo, my boy. And, man, I'll never forget that, you know. So coming from my dad, he was kind of hard, man. But
that's awesome.
Coming from him, that kind of spurred me on a little bit, man. And then he heard me sing some Tom Jones and some other stuff, and then he started to dig it. But they wouldn't come to see you in a bar. Now, Laura's mom, man, she came everywhere. That lady's, you know. But, you know, that's just how my parents rolled, man, you know. They'd come see you sing in church. I'd sing at church, and you know.
That's good.
Yeah, they would.
For you.
Yeah, but the rock and roll, man. They didn't. My mom was a beautician, man. All my friends, we all had massive long hair, man. She never said a word. All she ever said was, you know, keep that shit clean. That's all. That's all she ever said. You know, her friends would go, "Wow, man, look at your son and his friends, man. They all got long hair." And my mom's like, "They all are good kids, man. So, you know, mind your own business, you know, or whatever, you know."
Yeah.
So anyhow, we get to St. Louis, and then we drive to the Grand Canyon.
Oh, geez.
And Lars is like, we have to get there at sunset, the perfect time. So
that's a good plan. He knows.
Yeah. So we're driving there, and he's like, we got to get primed before the sun sets. Okay, man. So we get out, we go over to this ledge, and the sun is starting to set on the Grand Canyon. And there's a bunch of like Indian people, they're trying to sell you stuff and everything. Sure. And I'm thinking, the Grand Canyon, man. You know, I'm getting excited now because we put all the grief and sorrow, we left it in St. Louis. So, you know, by the time we left there, the fire starts burning. Oh, I'm moving to LA, and I'm getting to LA, and, you know, and stuff like that. So it changed, you know, and the Grand Canyon helped, man. It was great timing. So cool. Then we go to Vegas, and afterwards, like, well, I was playing this slot machine for like, I don't know, quarters or something, and some lady next to me, she hit it big. She's some older lady. All these silver dollars are rolling out, and she said, well, honey, get that cup. And I did, and she gave it to me, man. I'll never forget that. She just took a handful of these silver dollars and just put it in this cup for me, man.
That's cool.
So, of course, you know, we're gambling with money we didn't have. Yeah, we're going to start a new life when we stop in Vegas. We weren't gamblers. We just played a few things to have fun, you know. And so we had a couple drinks. So then Laura's like, we got to get going, man. I got to be back to school in a couple days. We got to get back to L.A. It was like 8 hours. And they're like, Big, you got to drive. And I said, no. I said, you guys know I have car sickness, man. I said, I fall asleep in a car at the drop of a hat. Dude, we're tired of that. That's lame. You're driving. Okay, all right. So I'm driving, and we're kind of going through the desert, and Lars is asleep, and Clyde is asleep.
And this is the white van, right?
It was blue.
The blue van.
Yeah, this was Clyde's blue van.
Cruising down the highway?
Yeah, and Lars is asleep, and Clyde's asleep, and I'm asleep. Oh, my gosh. And so all of a sudden...
And you're driving.
Yeah, and all of a sudden we hear... on the outside, something hitting the grill.
Oh, my God.
And I wake up, and they're all yelling, dude, we're off the road. And we were like running over cactuses. Yeah. And so I said, I told you guys that I shouldn't drive. Well, it scared the hell out of us. So then Clyde drove. But then we were all wide awake because it scared the living hell out of us. So by the time we get to L.A., where I'm like exhausted, all I want to do is go to sleep. And Laura lived on the second floor. Well, we had everything we owned. Peach crates full of albums and music equipment all in the van. Everything we owned, man, was in this van. And I told Laura, let's get some sleep. And he's like, no, dude. He goes, if we don't unload this van,
it'll be gone.
It'll be gone when we wake up. He goes, you ain't in Mayberry anymore, man. He said, this is L.A.
Shongle.
So for like 2 hours, we unloaded this van up to the second floor. It was a nightmare. And he's like, welcome to LA. I'm like, I'm not liking this already, man. And then we probably slept for 2 days. And then,
oh man. Yeah.
And then we, just started to get it together, man. You know, Lars was going to school at MIT. That helped a lot. Because, and then Clyde was going too. When Clyde went, you have to audition to go. And so he's a rock dude, man. He was like metal, and they had all these jazz dudes there. And I mean, you got one of everything. It's a Noah's Ark of musicians.
Yep,
you know, not everyone's just playing metal. So Clyde goes there, and you have to audition in front of these teachers and stuff. And so he learned Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner. And he was like, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And they were blown away, man. They said, yeah, man, you can start going to school here. So he did. Yeah, he went out there and kind of had to audition. Laura they took Laura in. I mean,
yeah.
And so Clyde, that's how he got in. So they're like, dude, we have to do these performance credits. And they go, but nobody sings. They go, you have to come up and sing these songs. So I was going up like 3 or 4 times a week
to school,
to MIT, where Lars is going. So the security guys, after a while, they think I'm going there, so they don't see others like, hey man, what's up? So I would
Biggy. Well, you weren't Biggy you weren't Biggy yet. You were James.
Let's see. Yeah, no, I wasn't. I wasn't Biggie yet. I was. I was Jimmy, whatever.
Come on through.
Top Jimmy, or whatever.
Come on through.
Yeah.
All right, hang on one sec. So you're basically going to school for these audition supports, right? To sing?
Yeah, like you had to do a performance credit, which meant you had to perform a song with a band in front of all these teachers. So, of course, Lars and these guys, they're not going to do a bunch of jazz songs like these other guys. And they're like, dude, let's do some Wasp and some Maiden. I said, okay. They had this kid named Aaron on guitar. He was great, man. He played in a band with Lars. He was killer. And Clyde was on bass and Lars was on drum. And this other guy, the Shredder, he was on the other guitar. We went in there and all these jazz guys were in there, and they all wear sunglasses because they're too cool, and they don't like metal and everything, and we melted that place, man. And so then other people's like, man, dude, I saw you that day. You was doing these songs. They were like, man, you got it going on. And so then they were like, hey, my band needs to do this, to get a credit. So I learned a lot, and then I was there, and then some people said some stuff to you that really helped you out, man. Jeff Picard from Toto, his dad was one of the teachers, and we did like this song "Heat in the Street" I did with these guys from Indiana by Pat Travers. And when I got done, he said, wow, man, he said, let me tell you something. He said, I don't know where that big voice comes out of that little body. He said, but and you got something going on there, kid.
That's cool,
I thought
man.
that was really cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
And so, I mean, a couple words of inspiration can spur somebody on. So then I just started meeting all these musicians, and then they're like, hey, my band's playing, man, when you come. And we're like, we ain't got no money. They're like, you carry some stuff in. We're like, all right, dude. So
Cool.
That's how I started getting it on. And then the guys at school, they were putting bands together, because where else you going to get musicians,
Right.
was at Musicians Institute. I mean, I played with all kinds of people, man. And some of these guys, actually the guy that I played in a band with, I was in a band called Warlock, and he was from Chile, and his name was Eddie. And he was this killer drummer, man. And Tommy Lee used to come and see him. He would come and see us. He saw us play once, but he would come up to the school and see him, because this kid was incredible, man. And I remember Tommy Lee in there at like 10 in the morning, long coat on, because he had a Heineken stashed in it. Yeah, well, go figure, man.
Wow.
But so, and then we saw Al Di Meola up there. One day Clyde's like, dude, this guy named Al Di Meola is playing this session in this room. He goes, he's teaching something. You want to go in there? And we went in. I'm like, what is that? Al Di Meola.
That's cool,
really,
man.
So then everybody started just trying to get into bands. Well, we went and saw Poison. Well, this one we still had some money. The money hadn't run out yet. So we went and saw Poison. And they were
do you remember where you saw him?
at the Troubadour.
Wow.
And Brett Michaels was pretty glammed up. I thought he was a chick. And then when I got close, I thought, man, he's one of the best looking guys. I mean, he's dolled up, whatever. But
That was 80s,
they were,
man.
you
Big
know
time.
what? People can say what they want about these bands. If everyone played the same kind of music, man, it'd be a boring world. So you got to respect somebody. And I'll tell you what, there was a million women there. And if he got too close to the stage, they were pulling him down on the floor, man, trying to rip his pants off. One time he got up, all he had on was a G-string, and then he kept singing, and then he ran back, and they threw him some pants, and he threw them on, but they hadn't made it yet. So, but we saw these flyers. See, if you wanted, there was flyers everywhere where, they were just millions of them on these telephone poles and stuff like that, and on Hollywood Boulevard.
There's no internet. There's no
Right.
Facebook. There's no distribution.
And there
of
would be people
information.
walking down, and
Handing
then
out.
I think Clyde said one time he gave one to somebody that was like a kind of a big star, and the dude blew his nose with it and threw it on the ground. And they were like, that guy's a dick. And I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. So when he was going to school, he met people. I met people like Fred Curry. He was going there from Cinderella. And he wasn't in Cinderella yet. And so he was like...
He was like you guys, just
well, I think he had an
networking
entertainment lawyer. See,
Yeah?
some guys, they kind of had a... Nikki Sixx talks about how he kind of struggled. But to tell you the truth, his uncle was a movie producer, man. And I don't think he was living in the hood. So some of us were living in the hood. And then some people had a little help, man,
Yeah.
which is fine, whatever, man. You can't help what you're born into, that's how it goes. I mean, we actually knew this guy's name was Simon, and his parents owned like a crystal factory in L.A. He lived in the penthouse. We lived down at the bottom of the hill, but he would have these parties, and we would go up there, and he would have a refrigerator full of Heinekens, and there would be all these killer, like, women and all these musicians. And he played bass, but he kind of sucked. But he was so good looking that everybody was like, "We're
great
getting
parties.
Simon." So they were like, "We're getting Simon." So he all the time
what did he play?
bass.
Okay.
So he was decent, but I'm telling you, he wasn't high caliber. But the thing is, he had all the money. You'd go see him, and you're like, "Damn, man, where'd all these lights come from?"
So it's like a great parties
Yeah.
too.
Oh, yeah. And they were just like, get Simon in the band. We just turn him down, they used to say, and stuff like that. And so I actually, I did a couple gigs with him one time. And he goes, I'll meet you at Snow White's coffee shop. This place was right next to MIT. So I ain't got no money, man. So we go in there, and he orders some big-ass sub and buys me a cup of coffee. Well, this is like my 10th one today because, man, back then, you're lucky if you ate a cup every couple. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying you pretty much lived on coffee, So he takes me out for some coffee, just what I don't need. So we go in there, and the dude's spoiled, man. He's got it made, and so he takes like a nibble and just shoves this sandwich off to the side, and then he's like, "Well, man, we gotta get out to rehearsal, man." I said, "All right, dude. I got to go to the bathroom, man. I'll be right back." And he goes, "I'm going to go pay this bill." Man, when he turned his back, it was nom, nom, nom. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Yep. You don't know what hungry is until you've gone like 2 or 3 days without eating, man. It's a pain I never felt. My parents took care of us, man. We had 3 meals a day. And then you go to...
What year were we?
I was like 85.
Yeah, and you're a long way from home.
Yeah, you couldn't go home to mom and dad's house for dinner on Sundays.
You're doing what you got to do.
Yeah, exactly. And buffets saved us. Like the Holiday Inn, they would have happy hour. You buy a beer, and then they'd have stuff to eat. But we'd buy like 1 beer, and then we would eat until they throw us out. But it kept us going, man, It did.
Yeah.
I mean... You
got to do what you got to do, man. You got to do
sometimes your morals take a back seat when it comes to survival because, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, reality sets in, man. So, so we lived on ramens. That's why I have a rough time with them. My kids are like, "Dad, we love ramens." I'm like...
They have ramens that are made from like soy or from cauliflower.
Oh, yeah.
That's not so bad. And it's not as high in sodium. It's not all that stuff.
Man, we didn't even have a pot. So
No,
we would
I'm
just
with you.
run the
No, I'm
sink.
talking about current day. with
Oh,
your
yeah.
kids,
No, I mean, we would run the sink
Yeah.
as hot as it could, and then you put something on top of it, and then you let it have to sit for an hour. But it kept you going. But then I'm like, man, there's like 8 Mexican people live downstairs in this apartment. And I go, how are they all surviving? So one day when they left, man, me and my buddy was taking the trash out. We went down there, and they just took their trash out, and we looked in there, and it was beans and flour tortillas.
Yeah.
And I told my friend, this is what we need to do. And we did, man. We lived on refried beans. The luxury was Frank's hot sauce, man. But it was just flour tortillas.
And beans.
And refried beans. And lots of caffeine, man.
Yeah.
And when we first got there, Clyde was a little portly, man. He had a size 36-inch waist. But by the time...
Dude, I haven't seen that since I was 5. But, well, that's another story. Sorry.
That's fine. So he's like about a 38. And so after we were there like 5 months, he's wearing my size 26-inch Levi's. And you can guess how skinny me and Laura was. I think I was wearing like some girl's Jordache. That's about how thin we were, man. I mean, we were...
lean, fighting it.
Yeah. You might be a little pale looking, but that was the look, so... Yeah.
So I can see where... So what are you thinking at that time then? Like, are you going to just keep trudging through until you get to where you want to be? And where is it that you wanted to be? You want to be a rock star?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're out there to drive that dream.
Yeah, and then when we would go see somebody, like we went and saw Yngwie at the country club, and Richie Blackmore came in because everyone was saying, "Oh, Yngwie, Richie Blackmore, Yngwie." And so Richie Blackmore came in, he had 2 women with him, and he walked down front, and Yngwie was playing, and he threw a drink in his face. And Yngwie was devastated. Me and Lars was going, what the hell just happened?
It's a good question.
Yeah. It was, and Richie just turned around and walked away. And we was like, oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
What was that all about? Did you ever find out?
Richie got tired of Yngwie saying that he was better or something. But Yngwie was killer. He was just a kid, man. And I'll tell you what, when I saw that, I was like, what was that? Yeah, you would see these bands like that. No. The only band that was really big then was Van Halen, and Rat was just on the verge of being big too. But some of the other bands
starting to blaze the trail for all the others that like Poison and Crew and those guys that they were out there at that time.
Right, but it wasn't. They hadn't made that yet. They were still struggling. Even the Crew, I didn't hear. But when we first got there and the radio came in for the first time, I'll never forget this. When you're driving and then you can finally get a station in, like in LA, because we're coming from Vegas. And the first time I heard was like Jamie's Crying, and I was just like, they're playing this on the radio. And Laura's just like, dude, they play the killer stuff out here. Yeah. And they did, man. It was great. So, we saw Poison, and then, let's see, we saw the Black Sheep, and then, let's see, who else was it? When Sweet Savage came to town, they were these guys from Ohio. Well, they were from Texas, but they were transplants from Ohio. We knew them back in the day. It was Joey C. Jones when they were in a band called Assassin. And they played on the same circuit as Lars' old band, American Steel. So we were all friends. Everybody was hanging out together all the time. But they were on the cusp of breaking it, man. So they got a hold of us when they were playing at the country club in Reseda. And me and Lars went down to their motel, man, and we went in, and these dudes, they all had this killer hair, man, and they looked like rock stars, man, but you couldn't breathe because there's a lot of final net going on in this small motel room, and someone's like, don't light a match, dude. Yeah. So we hung out, and Joey's like, he goes, man, you guys doing all right? Me and Lars like, yeah, and he's like, you looking a little thin. We said, hey, dude, you know how it is? And he's like, well, let me take you out to get you something to eat. So he took me and Laura and got us a hamburger, man. I never forgot that. I thought that was a really cool, thing to do. But we were Ohio boys, man. And then they went on to bigger things, man. But it was cool that they got a hold of us. And Irish Cotty, he ran lights at the Alrosa and stuff like that. And he was with them, and he was our good friend. And we're all still good friends to this day. Now, Joey passed away a couple years ago. But, yeah. They were cool with us because they knew the struggle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, just because they had management, well, they worked their butt off, man. They were playing Gazaris. And I mean, they were going to get signed. And Joey didn't think it was enough money. And he told him no. And then that scene was kind of starting to fade. And they never offered him anything else, man. But they were just as damn good as Warrant and Poison. They were just as good, man. Yeah. But so stuff changed. So I was playing in this band, and they were just like, dude, you have to bleach your hair blonde. And I'm like,
this was in LA.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not doing that, man. And they're like, yeah, man, because Roth, Vince, Brett Michaels, Janie Lane, I think Stephen Piercy was the only lead singer, had dark hair, and I mean, everybody was just like blonde, and
you're sporting, you're brunette.
Yeah. And then every band out there was trying to do the same thing. And I'm thinking, why don't you all try something different? And they said, well, if you don't do it, we're getting rid of you. And I said, okay, I guess I'm not doing it. So I was crushed, man. The first band I was playing in, I was like, so I was crushed, man. So then this friend of mine, he was a musician. He saw me on the street, and he goes, hey, dude, are you still playing with that band? I said, no, dude, they fired me because I wouldn't bleach my hair blonde. And he goes, well, that's just wrong, man. He said, you know what? I know some cats that are looking for a singer. He goes, I'm going to set you up an audition. He goes, it's right up your alley, man. So hard rock, some metal. I said, okay, dude, I'm cool. So a couple days later, he comes over. He goes, hey, I got this audition, man. It's tomorrow. I said, okay. So went down. I walked in the room. Everybody had jet black hair. And I went, oh, this might be my home. And after a couple songs, it was, man. So, yeah, I had a good time with these guys. It was a band called Warlock before Dora Pesch is Warlock from Germany. And this one guy, the guitar player, he'd been around in L.A., man. He had some... he could get in some clubs, man. He'd been there for a while.
That's
He
cool.
was rough. He was a slinger, man. I kind of liked the dude. And we had this Eddie guy from Chile playing drums, and he just had a foot. He had a good foot on him, man. And he didn't speak much English, but who cares, man? It's a language of music.
Oh yeah.
You know, he would say a few things. One time he goes, "Biggie, don't ever interrupt my drum solo ever again," because I think I cut.
You cut him short.
Yeah, I cut him short, man. So he let me have it afterwards, man.
Did you learn your lesson, Mister
I did. Hey, you know, we all need to be.
Warlock?
Yeah. So we're playing around at some great clubs. Man, we're playing this place called the Waters Club, which is in Reseda. It had a waterfall behind the stage. And so they would turn that on. You'd be up on stage and this mist would be coming on you. But it was so cool. They had these great lights on it. So we're doing all these shows. And this guy named Wayne that's playing guitar, he's like, dude, I found some management company and they want to send us over to England to this playing, you know. It ain't no record deal, ain't nothing like that. Just they wanted us to go play these clubs. And I'm thinking, oh, this could be it. This is what I need, man. You know what I mean? I mean, you're young,
Sure.
you're thinking that, wow, you know.
Yeah.
So he goes, well, my mom died, and I have to go back to New York to her funeral. And he goes, when I come back, we're going to go sign this thing, and then we're going to go. I said, see when you get back. So about three days later, the bass player shows up at my apartment, and he knocks on the door. When I open it up, I could tell by the look on his face, man, that it was the worst news of all time. And he says, well, dude, when Wayne went back to New York, he was wanted.
Oh my God.
And they keep track of that stuff. And when his mom passed away, they knew he would come back to the funeral. And as soon as they saw his name on the register on the flight, they said his sister said as soon as he got off the plane, they handcuffed him and took him straight to prison. I never heard or seen from the guy ever again, man, but I was crushed, man.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like heartbreaking to hear that.
That would
All
knock the
the way
wind out of my
around.
sails, man.
Well, you and him, the whole situation.
So, and then things were changing. Like the glam was kind of going away, and like Guns N' Roses, like we knew those guys. Izzy Stradlin lived right next door to us in this apartment. He didn't say much. He had this girlfriend. She's real tall, albino girl. She was hot, man. I'm telling you, she was freaking hot. So we would go by his apartment. He didn't have no furniture, but he had a Triumph motorcycle, and he'd be sitting on it with his feet on the handlebars, watching some little TV like this big, you know.
Sure.
And so you didn't think nothing about it because they weren't famous yet. So Steven Adler would come over, and he would see him. And one day, me and my buddy, we lived right next door. You know, you ain't got no air conditioning, man. You got the front door open. That's how people rolled, you know. So we had the front door open. And then he looked in and saw we were rockers, and we was like, "Hey, man, what's going on?" And he came in, and he became our friend, man. Steven Adler, we were friends, man. He come down, we partake, and talk, cool. And he was like, "Man, dude, we're getting ready to hit it big, you know." And everyone said that.
Yeah.
So you just spurred up. I mean, everyone. I hate to tell you,
high-fived each other. Right?
Yeah, everybody's like, "Dude, we're on the cusp of breaking it,"
Yep.
and we're just like, "Man, I just heard that from someone else."
Yeah, well, I mean,
but you know, and he's like, "You got to come and see us," and I'm like, "Man, we ain't got no money." I was like, me and my friend Rod was living together, and I said, "Well, we're broke." He said, "Well, you carry my drums in, and I'll get you in." But it wasn't a big club, so we went, and it was something I ain't never seen before.
that's really cool.
And when I got back, my friends were like, "How was it?" And I said,
Look out.
I go, "I've never seen nothing like it in my life." I said, "It was the baddest
Energy.
thing I ever seen."
Badassery.
I said, the music was just killers. I mean, they were, that first album was a monster, man. It changed everything, you know. So then a month later, you know, everybody's hair's down, and, you know, and they're trying to do the Hanoi Rocks thing. That's pretty much where, you know. But when I saw Guns N' Roses, man, they did Nice Boys Don't Play Rock and Roll by Rose Tattoo, man. And me, that was it for me. I was like, "Oh, these guys are bad as hell." So the story was they were doing okay. They were trying to get some management, but they were doing a gig, and Slash had a station wagon, and after the gig they left, and some kid was drunk in his dad's like Beamer or something, and ran a light and hit him, and like Slash broke his collarbone, and they all kind of got hurt. So they got like $8,000 in like insurance money. You know what I mean? So instead of like getting a new car and stuff, Slash and those guys took the money and did a demo. And see, they were smart, man.
Wow.
You know, and they did a demo, and then once they gave it to somebody and that thing hit, it was huge, man. But then Axel would come over, because we had a gate, and if you didn't have a key, it was just a gate. You could yell through it, and usually the people would let the people in because they knew them because their friends lived there. You know, it ain't like here, man, where it's like up against the wall, man. Before I came up here, they were just like, "Hey, man." I thought the lady was calling 911. I'm like, "I'm in front of Lynn's," and she's like, "Oh yeah, Lynn, yeah, Lynn."
That's cool, man. That didn't happen, did it? Or did
I'll
it?
never tell them. No, it didn't. No, it didn't. It didn't
Okay,
happen,
good.
man. So anyhow, then they put this tape out and stuff. But we would go to these parties, and Vicki Hamilton, she was like a manager. She helped a lot of bands like Poison, and one of her bands was Autograph. And that's all she talked about, man. These guys are going to be huge. We were at some party, and all she talked about all night was Autograph, Autograph, Autograph. I was like, wow, man. She was all over it. And then she was like bad-mouthing Poison, but I'm thinking, well, you know, check your bank account and check theirs, man, because I think they're doing all right. But, I mean, she was a staple around us. She actually, she did some documentary, like The Decline of Western Civilization. She's on that one, The Metal Years. And stuff like that. She was on there. But you would go to these parties, and you would see these people, dude, and they were just like you and me, man. We went to a party one time. Brett Michaels was there. He's like, dude, I'm just like you guys, man. He's like, everyone thinks that you're born a rock star. He goes, well, I played baseball in high school, and I lived in Pennsylvania. And he's like, I went to the prom, and we were like,
That's cool.
Yeah, and once you kind of realize that, and then you kind of come into your own and think, okay, well, he's got his own personality, you know, I need to start working on mine. Because you want to kind of imitate at first. When you're a singer and stuff, you want people to like it. So you're like, oh, I'm going to imitate it. Then after a while, you're like, well, what if I do it in my version of this cover tune? And, you know, and then you start to figure out, you know, who you are and stuff like that. So, but then those guys, they hit it huge, man.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when it was on the radio. So Lars came back for Christmas one time, and he had like a cassette that we had of it before it came out. And he goes, when he played it for everybody, they were like, dude, what is that? And he's like, this is what's going on. He's like, these guys are going to be huge. And they were, man. That was nobody had heard anything like that, man. And, you know, and Steven Adler was great. Unfortunately, he got hooked up. I hate to say this, but he got hooked up with another friend of ours. And then those dudes were all,
left turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah, they were all going south, man. Yeah. And then all the guys in Guns N' Roses was doing stuff, man. But what bummed me out was they didn't help their friend. They all got off of it. They all got straight, but they didn't help their friend, man. I thought, man, that never sat right with me, man. You know? Yeah. I mean, I know he was a wreck, man. He was a wreck.
How long were you in LA then at this point?
It's probably been like a year, a little more than a year or so.
That's quite a year, though, man. Lots of experience. Lots of experience. Lots.
And then just learning, just because someone's a rock star. Like when we met David Lee Roth, he was just like he was like the master of a circus. He was like all over the place. He was talking and yeah, I mean, it was crazy. But then when you see him up close, you know, and then we met Stephen Pearcy, and he was just like, screw you guys, you know, and we were just like, oh, he was kind of a dick.
Everybody is their person, though.
Yeah, and then my 21st birthday, Jimbo came out. You know Jimbo.
Came out to
He came out to LA on vacation. So we picked him up at the airport. He came back to our apartment, and we had this class that you could get a 6-pack of Heineken in. And so it was huge. And so we just passed it around and then we just kept filling it up. So we were breaking Jimbo in. So anyhow, on my 21st birthday, we go to the Rainbow Bar and Grill. I wanted to go there. So we go in and you had to have a drink ticket to get a drink. Okay. Well, you paid so much to get in, they gave you one drink ticket. So, these girls behind the bar, man, they're not going to wait on you unless you got a 10 or a 20 attached to that drink card.
Right.
And then I'm not the tallest person around. So anyhow, they're not even looking at me. And I'm thinking, man, it's my freaking birthday. So I turn around and Blackie Lawless from Wasp is standing next to me. And he's like, what's your problem, kid? And I go, it's my freaking 21st birthday. And I said, I can't get a drink, man. And he goes, what do you want? And I go, I'll take a Mai Tai. And this is what he told me. I ain't buying no Mai Tai. He goes, I'll get you a drink. So, and then I look over and Lars and all these other guys on the other side of the bar, and they're freaking because me and Blackie kind of look alike, but I only come up to about his knee because he was like 6'7", like 6'8". And then he gave me the drink, man, and he toasted me and he said, well, happy birthday, man. And then he walked away.
What was that drink? What did he buy you?
A Jack and Coke.
Yeah.
I was good with it, whatever, man.
That's cool. That's really cool, man.
Yeah. That's a good. I love that.
What an experience.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we met a lot of people, man, and that hadn't even made it, man. Yeah, and then they did.
Yeah.
And we were glad for them, man.
Yeah.
I was never jealous of anyone because they made it, man. You have to be in the right place at the right time. And, but we experienced a lot of stuff, man. Not all good either, man. There were some riots going on and stuff. And, that was rough. There was this dude that lived in our building and he was a Green Beret. And, he was a black guy, and he goes, I love you hillbilly kids, man. He said, but don't you dare leave this apartment complex. He said, because LA's going crazy. And he said, I hate to tell you, dude, but you're white and you're the enemy. And he goes, if you need something at the store, you write it on a list and you give me the money and I'll get it for you. He said, and he looked us right dead in the eye and he said, and I'm dead serious, man. They were burning stuff like 2 or 3 blocks away. We were sitting on the roof in lawn chairs going, wow, it didn't seem real, man. It was like a movie or something. You know what I mean? It seemed like a movie.
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, oh, what about living on Hollywood Boulevard? Well, it kind of loses its glimmer after a while, It got pretty seedy, man. Yeah.
That's serious.
Yeah. And there was like clubs around there. Like Lars took me in this club one night called the Seven Seas. And so all these military guys would go in there because it was close to the Holiday Inn. They were all at Camp Pendleton. Okay, you got a bunch of 20-year-olds locked up for 6 months at Camp Pendleton, and then you turn them loose in Hollywood. What do you think's going on, man? So they're all in these clubs. We all go in there with long hair. It was getting crazy, but it was like a goth club. But all these chicks were like all goth. They were all so good looking though, man, but they looked like they wouldn't hesitate sacrifice you at midnight.
Jeez.
Yeah, Lars took me to some shady places, but you know what? What great memories,
Yeah, the experience that you're taking us through is it's amazing. Not everyone's ever gonna see what you've seen.
Right. Well, I mean, we knew this girl. Her name was Joyce, and she played guitar on roller skates down Hollywood Boulevard. Nice. And then she was in a girl band too. She was just a little thing, but she was dating Billy Sheehan. And so we'd go up to her apartment, man, and he would tell us stories about being on tour, man. He said when he was on tour with UFO that he'd watch Phil Moog just go over the side stage and just be puking, because he was like a full-blown alcoholic, man. And then he said one time they were at the Rainbow and somebody put a lute in Ozzy's drink, and Ozzy fell down the steps, and he goes, I swear to God, I heard his head hit the floor, and he goes, I thought it cracked, you know, he goes, I thought he was dead, dude. He goes, my heart like stopped and stuff. And then he, you know, and he was cool, and he was like, I got something going on. He goes, but I had to sign a contract, so I wouldn't talk about it. And here it was playing with Roth.
Right.
When him and Steve Vai went to play with Roth, but he couldn't tell us. But see, he was way cool. And then Sean, Prue Dog, you know, he's good buddies with Billy Sheehan, man. He went and did some seminar with him. And
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, he did.
Maybe he did say something about that.
But we met him, and then Robin Crosby, you remember him? He was a guitar player in Rat. He was a real tall blonde guy.
Yeah.
Well, man, he started having all these issues, and they had to get someone else, man. And he was living in the hills, and this friend of ours went up there to buy some of his guitars. And he said when he came to the door, man, that he was in a bathrobe, and he just looked like hell, man. Yeah. It sucked to see people fall from grace, man. I know the world likes that, but that's not how I roll, man. Everyone wants to see you get to the top, but then there's all those other people that can't wait for you to fall. I mean, it's terrible, man, but it's real though. It is, man. They, I love that guy. Oh man, it's scary. No, I'm just saying. You know the story, man. I don't need to tell you.
I totally understand what you're saying. And you're dealing with all of that all at the same time out there, so far away from Lancaster, Ohio.
Yeah. And so you would get a little homesick sometimes, especially during the county fair, because in Lancaster, the leaves are changing color. And the county fair, man, I mean, you know, we're all still those hillbilly kids, man, even though we were trying to be, you know, rockers, you know. And then it was like going to college. You might have thought you were hot shit. And then all it took was a couple times out to a club, and then you left and went, I got to get it together, man. Yeah, because I guess someone forgot to tell all of us when we were going to go out there that there was going to be like 2 million other people out there doing the same thing as us. And so just in all reality, you think, well, I'm hot shit in Columbus. I'm going out there. Where's my record contract?
Right, man.
I mean, and that's a good way to think.
Yeah, it is.
And
it keeps you driving out there.
It does.
Doing your passion.
Yeah.
Doing what's passionate.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow.
It's tough out there. It's tough. It's tough out there.
It's was.
Tough. It's tough anywhere. It really is.
Like I said, some of these dudes had entertainment lawyers, man. Like their parents might have had some money. Well, you got an entertainment lawyer. Some of these record companies are going through them before they're putting out something in a magazine, you know, about gigs and stuff, you know.
Biggie, how long were you out there?
It was probably a couple years.
How many trips to LA? Was it the one time?
Just once. That's all I could afford.
What brought you back to Columbus? You reached
I came home one time for Christmas, and of course things were just in LA was like, it was just so different, man. And then a bunch of my friends, some of them passed away, man, and that takes a toll on you a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you think, man, I'm not getting anywhere. You know, I'm really struggling, and I'm not getting anywhere. Maybe if I was somewhere where I was a little more stable, I could still do this, but I'm struggling so bad that I'm not making any progress, man. And things were changing, and just, I don't know, man. Yeah, I guess I had enough, man, you know. Yeah. And then I came home for Christmas, and my friends picked me up, and they took me to see a band of some friends of mine. And it kind of spurred me on. I thought, well, you know what, man, maybe these guys around here do have it going on, and I could come back here. And you know, and I was at rock bottom, man. I had to come home and move in with my parents. Yeah, but it was rough, man, because when you leave the life that's going on, when you leave, when you come back, it's never the same, because life changes, and your friends got married, they had kids, they moved out of town. So when I came back, I didn't hardly know anyone. And so it really was rough, and I didn't have a dime. I didn't have any money at all, and it was Christmas, and I couldn't buy gifts for everyone. And I just wanted to curl up in a ball, man, and freaking, die, man. It was
tough. It was a tough time.
It
Tough
was. And then
adjustments.
maybe there was some issues I had going on. Well, you don't play these clubs in LA 1 week and then 3 weeks, and then living this rock lifestyle. And then 3 weeks later, you're living in your parents' basement. You have nothing. No one. I mean, it was rock bottom, man. It was rock bottom. And
how old were you? Ish.
20, 25, 26.
25, 26. Yeah, man.
Yeah, so finally somebody called me up. So I had a few good friends, man, and they were just like, well, dude, maybe it wasn't for you. And man, in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, man, I just don't think that I'm done with this, And I just thought, I had some bad times, and it happens to everyone, man. Lots of people step away for a little bit because it's something that you love. And when something really bad kind of goes down, it drags you down, man, it kind of, you lose your spirit a little bit, and you need to step away. So it was probably a good thing, So anyhow, this girl called me and she said, these people own this flower company and they need someone to drive the van on Valentine's Day. She's like, will you do that? And I didn't have no money. I said, yes, I'll do that. So I did that and I listened to music. Of course, it had some crap FM radio, so it might have been Sunny 95. Hell, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whatever, man. Good tunes are good tunes. So I listened to that all day, and then, of course, when I'm delivering candy and flowers, all these women, they were all like, oh, thank you. And I'm like, well, I didn't pay for it, but, they're hugging you. And so it kind of, that day kind of broke the black cloud a little bit. And then when I came home, I thought, man, I was singing all day in the van, and I probably hadn't sang for a couple months, man. I just quit. I just didn't even listen to music or anything, man. So I just, I thought, man, why not? I need to get back on my feet, man. So then I did.
Yeah. How did that happen for you?
I just went and got a job, man.
Yeah.
But the singing I had to keep on. I had to keep it on the burner. I needed money, man.
Yep.
You can't. I hate to tell you, man. You ain't doing nothing if you don't have no money. So once I got a job, then I got my own place, and then I had a car, and then I was kind of halfway back. So I hadn't seen any rock for a while, so I went and saw a band. They were really good, man. I kind of got some chills, and it lit a fire in me. So I still wasn't ready for it yet. And then a guy at a magazine called the Columbus Review, he got a hold of a friend of mine, and he said, is Biggy back from LA? And he said, yeah. And he's like, well, does he still sing? And my friend was like, yeah, dude, I'm sure he does, man. And he's like, well, I know these kids on the east side of Columbus, and they're pretty awesome, and they need a singer. Talk to him. So he gave me this guy's number and everything, and I was like, well, man, maybe I should do something, man. So I went and I checked these guys out, and it was Sean Pruden, and it was Matt Bradley, it was Chris Wood. They were just kids.
Yeah.
They were just kids, man. And I thought, even though I'd fallen from grace, you still kind of have a little aura going, I don't know, if I want to play with these kids. It's just human nature,
no,
whatever. You're not being a dick. It's just part of it. No. And so you're just like, I don't know.
Those guys are all...
And then
really
we started
driven,
playing a couple Dawkins songs,
right
and
on.
they were shredding it. And I was getting excited. I was like, wow. But I just thought they were too young. So I kind of blew them off.
We're good.
I kind of blew them off. And about 4 months later, Sean called me up, and he's like, hey, dude, we're going to do this thing called Rock Wars. And if you could just help us do that, that's all we want, man. And then I said, okay. And he goes, it's only like once a month. If you keep winning,
sure,
it carries on. And I said, okay. And so I went and jammed with them. And then they were 4 times better than what they were before. And something it kicked in, man.
Nice.
And we kicked some ass for a year.
And you guys were known as
long gone.
Long Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were playing my wheelhouse, man. They were playing stuff all Van Halen 1. They were playing Dawkins, Tooth and Nail, Kiss of Death. That stuff's my wheelhouse, man. That's what I do, man. And some Rainbow and stuff. And then we ended up winning this Rock Wars thing. Which I was closest with Sean. There was just something about him, man. He was...
he's a force.
He's
a force.
He was incredible.
Yeah.
When I've seen him before... he'll probably kill me for saying. When I seen him before, he had really long hair, and then I came back and he had a do-rag on and a baseball hat, and I thought, the dude went punk, man. You know what? And I never said a word.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he got this disease, and then he tells me about it a couple months later, and he says, "Well, dude," he goes, "I got this disease. All my hair fell out in like 2 days," and he goes, "I ain't done nothing but play bass in the basement for like 8 months, like 24 hours a day," and I said. Yeah, dude, I get that. So yeah, then I played with those guys for a while, and then I got into a couple other bands, and
still rolling.
And I'm still rolling, man. And I'm trying. I took some years off from my kids to raise them, and then
it's all good, man.
I'm back.
Yeah. And I know you're collaborating with other people right now as we speak,
Yeah.
I don't know if you can talk about any of that.
Jeff Tong and Don Pfeiffer and Paul Kress and I, we're putting a band together.
Nice.
And so we're looking for a bass player, man. We're a bunch of older dudes, seasoned. I wouldn't say older. I hate that. Seasoned.
Yeah.
And so, And we all got a lot in common, man. We all like some hard rock and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And James Biggy Young fronting this emerging project. It sounds like it's going to be good stuff.
It does. I'm
rockin'.
excited, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's some good old songs, man. Yeah. Thanks, man.
Good luck on that.
Yeah.
Biggie, we are fastly running out of time here, but we really appreciate
already.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact that you shared so much. Some of that was emotional, and some of it was very, I think, inspiring to others. And it's just an amazing story that you have as an example to pursue your dream and give it everything you have, and continue to do what you love, and that's what you're doing right now with music in Columbus area, where your life has you living.
Yeah. Well, all these guys, man, all these bands, I love the camaraderie that goes on now because these guys are all just, it's not like the old days where everyone was kind of stiff. Everyone's kind of like a family now, so everyone tries to help everybody out. I kind of dig that, Johnson and Clubber Lang and just everybody, man.
Gosh,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, James, hopefully only the very best to continue for you and what you're pursuing currently, and we'll see you out there for sure.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me on, brother. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Good to see you. Thanks for your time. And everyone, episode number 61 comes to a wrap with Biggy Young. We do thank you for listening, and have a great day. Bye-bye.